Dean, how would you explain dyslexia to someone who never heard of it? Right? Like that person never heard of dyslexia. They don't even know what that means. They don't even know the terminology of the word, like dyslexia. You know, sometimes you could have some background knowledge of this, of what it might mean. Let's assume that person doesn't know anything. What would you tell them?
I'd say this. The way we're communicating right now through the spoken language is an invisible medium of communication. I speak, you hear it, you process it, you understand what I'm saying, you reply. That is an ingrained ability that we are born with, every single one of us, with the exception of a couple. But generally speaking, human beings are born with that capacity. It needs to be learned and matured from infanthood into early childhood. The process of taking that invisible medium and making it visible is a man-made invention. I am going to agree with you that if I draw a letter like this, that squiggly line is going to represent a D, and it's going to sound like duh. And if I write a little letter that goes like this and another one like that, it will say Dean. So now we've made the invisible visible because we've agreed on these squiggly lines. The dyslexic brain, nobody knows why, has a fundamental disconnect between the visual observation of those squiggly words and the language translation component, so that there is this missing of this synchronicity that works pretty well for a vast majority of human beings. They can get the brain to use these different parts to acquire the skill of processing that visual into a knowledge of the spoken, and they can proceed. For us as dyslexics, that synchronicity of those different brain components just doesn't happen naturally. It doesn't come to us naturally. And as a result, unless it's taught to us in a very, very specific way, which has existed since the 1960s, if we're not taught that, that synchronicity never happens. And as a result, as the brain becomes more concrete in its wiring with age, the more and more difficult it becomes for us to externally get information and instruction that will allow that synchronicity to happen. So there's a fundamental disconnect between the visual and the language part of the brain, because reading is a man-made invention. It is an acquired skill as a result.